Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic for the end of September. What is it? Friday is October 1st. I should know this, right? Friday is October 1st, the opening day of bow season here in the great state of Michigan. Good morning, Joel. How are you? Sam, nice to have you along with us. Are things finally slowing down at Jay's, Sam? Or are you guys still slammed with people doing some last minute work on their boys? Kevin, good morning. How are you? My name is Mike Avery. I'm live on the Facebook page, Twitter, and the YouTube channel. Not on Instagram this morning. I'll tell you why in a minute. Eric, good morning. Jared, nice to have you along with us. John, deer season is almost here. Bernie, good morning. Jeff, nice to have you with us as we get ready to jump into the month of Rocktober. Although the weather doesn't really feel like it right now, does it? Larry, good morning. How are you? Jim, checking in from Gladwin. Eric says, Mr. Avery on the mic. Mike, behind the mic. Tom Rolls. Dan, nice to have you with us. 2 days. Robert, I should say. Yeah, 2 days. Bow season starts here in Michigan. Still busy, doesn't help. We're short-staffed. Every place is short-staffed right now. Hey, Sam? Paul checking in from hell. I love to say that. Ed, good morning. How are you, buddy? Travis with us as well. My name is Mike Avery. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. I'll tell you about that here in just a couple of minutes. Travis says it's his first time here. Well, Travis, so glad to have you along with us. Craig says he bought his Ohio license yesterday, getting excited. Good point. I should buy my license online ahead of time. I haven't hunted down there with Bill for 15 years, and the last time I was down there, you couldn't buy it online. So I will be buying mine online as well, Craig. Thank you for that reminder. I was out shooting yesterday, getting that Dart and Toxin 100 all dialed in. Big change from last year when I was shooting the recurve. When you jump from a recurve to a crossbow, it's like light years. For example, I have that dart and sighted in, zeroed in at 40 yards. I put a Vortex scope on it. Good morning, Diane. How are you? Roger checking in from Lake Orion. Or as I heard somebody say the other day, Lake Orion. Roger, nice to have you with us. That Vortex scope is pretty cool. I had a Darton scope on it, and it was a fine scope, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So I bought myself a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope. I consider it a pretty high-end scope. I'm sure there are a lot better ones out there. But with this Vortex, you zero it at 40, and then what you do is you go out to 80 yards and shoot at 80, and if you're low, you turn the magnification on the scope down. If you're shooting high, you turn the magnification up. And then that allows you to have the reticles, the crosshairs lined up at 20, 30, 40, 50. So I had it all dialed in with my field points, and I thought, you better go shoot some broadheads. Now, I didn't want to waste $15 broadheads. I'm shooting those Recs. And the Rec has practice points. And I talked to Matt Taggett at Rec, and I said, can I trust those practice points to fly exactly like the broadheads? And he says, yes. We've been shooting them out of crossbows out to 100 yards, and the point of impact from the broadhead doesn't change. Well, I put the practice point on there and shot at 40 yards, and my point of impact from my field points was different. Now, help me figure that out. If you've got a mechanical head that basically should fly like a field point, why is your point of impact, Sam, different on a mechanical broadhead? I understand a fixed blade because they're going to plane a little bit, but why is a mechanical flying different than a field point? John checking in from Macy, Indiana. Jerry, good morning. How are things in Marlette? Climax. And that really is a town in Michigan. Robert's on the bay perch fishing today. I was on the bay Monday. I took the Angler Quest across to Linwood Beach. I know. I should be out there. I should leave the boat in the water. Bernie says, I went online to buy me 2 Wraith ground blinds. They said they were out of stock. I bought one yesterday, Bernie, and it said it wasn't. Bernie, are you on outdoor pregame or are you on primal tree stands? But Eric, with a mechanical, there really aren't any blades sticking out, at least not like a fixed blade. Good morning, Randy. Good morning, Rick. Weight distribution is different on the broadhead. Yeah, but it's not a fixed blade. It's a mechanical. So it's all tucked in the ferrule. Good morning, Tracy. How are you this morning? Jim checking in from South Haven. So I'm feeling pretty good about it now. That Vortex scope is pretty sweet. I was having a hard time getting my Darton scope down far enough so all my crosshairs lined up. And the thing about this Vortex is your center, I look like I'm genuflecting, your center reticle or crosshair is actually at 40. So when you're shooting 20, you're actually shooting above the center reticle. Sam said timing on the crossbow could be off. Okay. How do I check that, Sam? Good morning, Ross. How are you? How do I check that? I know there are usually timing notches or timing marks on cams on a compound. I was at Darton talking to Ted. I saw your crossbow with your name on it. I bought one also, put the same scope on it. Going to say you bought the same scope. Going to cite it. The optics on the are amazing on the Vortex. I love that Vortex. Not that I not that I dislike the Darton scope, but that Vortex is a whole different level. I got the Vortex Crossfire 2, and I'm very impressed. Very impressed. Not that I would shoot an animal at 80 yards, but that bow is dialed into at least 80 yards, probably 100. I haven't shot it to 100. I wouldn't shoot a critter more than probably 50 yards. Ross said, sitting in his desk at work watching me. It's a beautiful day outside. Ross, it is a beautiful day outside, and I appreciate you being along with us, my friend, and I'm still disappointed that you're not able to join us in Ohio. Compare to where the string comes off the cam and see if there's a difference. String comes, just visually line them up, you're saying, Craig. Tyler says, good morning, Mike. These cooler mornings get me excited. It's almost time. By the way, nobody's asked me what day it is. Still has an exposed portion and a slight variant to the traditional field tip. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. There are little wings, even on the practice point. There are little wings beyond the ferrule. So 2 more days, and I'll have his dad hunting with his Darton Toxin 125. He hasn't hunted in 22 years. So excited. How cool is that? Scott, what are you doing in Arkansas? It's hard to keep track of you, Scott. Mike, what day is it? It's hump day. Hump day. It's hump day. Thanks for asking, by the way. Pat's going, you're an idiot, Avery. Rocktober. Amen. 2 days till Rocktober. Larkin Sawmill, not Arkansas. I was thinking, how did you get to Arkansas? Larkin Sawmill. Who's on the show this week? Thanks for asking, Brian. Captain Brian. Captain Stroick. Doesn't it feel good, Brian? Doesn't it feel good to have the title Captain in front of your name? Because you've earned it. And it is, I think it's a title of some prestige. I mean, I enjoy my captain's title. Coming up on the show this week, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats talking with me about a couple things. Number one, they had a great day on the Manistee River a couple of days ago, fishing with Paul Schlafly, Riverside Charters, casting crankbaits for kings. We're going to talk about that. Also, I'm getting my bear meat back here in the next couple of days. The guys at Michigan Brand did that processing, plus announcing a new giveaway. We're having a contest. I'm involved, obviously. Michigan Brand is involved. Rapid River Knife Works are involved, where you could win a Rapid River knife. Not identical to this one, but similar. We're to give you away a Rapid River knife. Chris checking in from Kansas. Also, put this on your calendar right now. We just confirmed this yesterday. On October the 20th, Wednesday night, October 20th, we will be live from the Rapid River showroom in Rapid River in the UP. The showroom usually closes at 5. Chris Durson's going to keep it open till at least 7 that night. And invite you to join us. Come on up and see that beautiful showroom. If you're in the UP, stop by. If you're in the northern lower, come on up. If you're in the lower, anywhere in the lower, come on up and join us. Also coming up this week at the end of hour number 1, John Page from the Rough Grouse Society of Michigan. In hour number 2, talking about processing venison, Mike Horswell of Jay's Sporting Goods, who is the most knowledgeable guy when it comes to processing there's Chris right there. There's Chris right there. He got a nice bear yesterday. Chris, I was just showing folks this. I've showed this a long, Ross said that'll be a long day at Will. Chris, I was just showing people this knife right here, this nice knife you made for me. Handmade, custom folder from Chris Durson at Rapid River Knife Works. I say we, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand and Chris Durson of Rapid River will be giving away a knife Wednesday night, October 20th, when we will be live at the Rapid River showroom, rapidriverknifeworks.com, in Rapid River in the UP. I invite you to stop by and say hi. And Chris, I look forward to seeing the picture of the bear. It is the pheasant opener. Yeah, Hunter Joe, it is the pheasant opener. Good point. And Ross, yes, that will be a long, long day. Mike Durson talking about processing your own venison. I hope to be using this exact knife to field dress a nice Ohio buck here in a couple of weeks. Brian Roll from the DNR talking about, and I can't wait to hear this conversation with Brian Roll. The setup on this conversation is why UP hunters can expect not to see many deer this fall. I look forward to hearing that spin. And then the Ask Avery segment this week is talking about EHD, the outbreak of EHD in the southern lower peninsula. How bad is it? It's not as bad as a few years ago, but bad enough. And then in hour number 3, Lance Valentine of Teachin' Fishin' talking about trolling for trophy walleye on Lake Erie and actually anywhere else on the big water this time of year. And Wild Game Chef Dave Miner wraps it all up. Ross says the dang wolves. That's certainly going to be part of it, but it's. I was actually surprised because this is a conversation that the DNR suggested. Hey, why don't you get Brian Roll on to talk about what hunters can expect? And the way I look at it is this is their way of preparing hunters. And I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but it feels to me like this is their way of preparing hunters to lower their expectations in the UP. But maybe I'm completely wrong. I guess I should talk to Brian first before I start anticipating the conversation, right? Ross says, how has Dave been lately? I keep looking at this knife. Is that not, you know what this is? This is woolly mammoth ivory. At least that's what Chris tells me. I have no way of verifying that. But how cool is that? Now, we're not giving away a folder, I don't think. That'll be up to Chris and Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand. But Wednesday night, October 20th, I feel like I'm stabbing you, right? Wednesday night, October 20th, we will do a Wednesday night live from the Rapid River showroom in Rapid River. Nick Grillo will be there. Chris Durson will be there. I will be there. And encourage you to join us as well. It's been rare to see a deer when hunting at our deer camp in the UP. My dad pushed a small buck out while driving back to camp last weekend. So we're getting ready to enter the month of Rocktober. Best month of the year, in my opinion. The Angler Quest is out of the water. I went, good morning, Brad. How are you? I went Monday. I took advantage of this beautiful weather when I should be perch fishing. I know. Bernie says more deer than ever here, and we shoot 5 to 7 deer every year. I'm fortunate to live where I do. Ross says, I love my Michigan Brand meats. You can find a full display of Michigan Brand at the Rapid River showroom. Ross says he loves his Michigan Brand meats. Going to have to do some brats for me with the deboned bear meat. That's exactly what they did for me, Ross. I dropped my bear off at Stutzman's near Clare. They deboned it. The meat then went to Michigan Brand, and they're making brats out of it right now. Why was the UP such a great deer hunting place in the old days, the 50s and the 60s? Boy, that's a long, short question with a long answer, John. It used to be in the 50s and 60s, if you wanted to hunt deer in Michigan, you went to the UP because there weren't deer in large numbers downstate. I have a postcard from my dad when I was like 2 years old, so that would have been 1960. A postcard waiting in line at the Straits to cross on the ferry to the UP to go deer hunting because there weren't any deer down here. Now there's very few deer up there. Anyway, the Angler Quest is out of the water, and I have to be honest, that's a relief. I don't have to worry about floods. I don't have to worry about gale-forced winds like we had last week when I had a hard time sleeping that night because I was worried about the boat. It's out of the water. It's at Linwood Beach Marina, and they're going to winterize it. This stretch of weather is very interesting, isn't it? I'm not sure how, I'll be honest, I'm not sure how excited I am to sit in a stand on Friday with the weather the way it is. I probably will, but it would take a very, very big buck walking in front of me to get me to throw an arrow because I don't want to deal with the meat when it's this warm. Promotions, primaltreestands.com. Now, John said he went to buy one of those blinds and they said they were sold out. I bought a blind just yesterday at primaltreestands.com. I used my own promo code, by the way. I know you didn't, Ross, and that's not right. I went to Primal Tree Stands. I used my own promo code, Avery. I got one for $199.42, and I actually had it shipped right to Bill Piles at Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters in Ohio, obviously. PrimalTreeStands.com. Use the promo code Avery. Save on everything on the website, including that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind for less than $200. If you go to MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net, use the promo code Mike21. You get 20% off everything on the website there. And if you go to MUCC.org and use the promo code Mike, all caps, save 25% on your MUCC membership. Somebody asked me the other day, said, do you have a promo code for Rapid River Knives? No, we do not. Okay, we do not. Pat Johnston walked in here and he wants to do an audio check, so I will switch from my social media microphone to my official broadcast microphone. People say, why do you have two mics? Because one is hooked up to my iPad to do this live stream, and one is hooked into the radio studio to do the broadcast version of the radio show. Now, normally, I also do an Instagram live here in the studio, but I got a new phone, and when I went to hook up my hey, look at that. When I went to hook up my Instagram live, I noticed that the filter that allows me to switch my camera, not switch it, but If you go to Instagram right now and try to do a live, the image is reversed. So this would all look backwards. But there's a filter that you can apply that makes it that swaps it so it's right like this. It's like a mirror image. And when I pulled it up on my new phone, I realized the filter had not transferred over. So I spent like 10 minutes in the truck trying to figure out how to find that filter to add it again, and I couldn't. But I'll have it figured out before next week. All right, Ross, go sell some. You will have Ross. Gosh, you're a funny guy. A great guy, but a funny guy. And he will have company tonight. Good morning, Mike. How are you? Paul Perone from VersaSkins, versaskins.com. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Great family-owned, Michigan-based companies. You know I love that. Chris Durson of Rapid River was on here. Michigan-based, family-owned company. Paul Perone of VersaSkins, Michigan-based, family-owned company. I had a friend over last night. He gave me back shooting after 3. We're back out to 100 yards. Kind of impressed him. I bet it did. I was shooting yesterday. In fact, Paul texted me while I was shooting, dialing in that Darton crossbow. And I told you with that Vortex scope, and I have no affiliation with Vortex at all, but I think they're a great product. You actually zero it at 40 yards and then go back to 80. And if you're shooting low at 80, you decrease the magnification on your scope. If you're shooting high at 80, you increase the magnification on your scope. And that allows the crosshairs, the reticles, to line up at 20, 30, 40, 50. Because I don't want them at 27, 34, 42, and then try, if I've got a deer in front of me or a turkey or bear or whatever, try to make that calculation. I want them to go 20, 30, 40, 50. My Idaho bear hunt update. Buddy harvested nice bear with great white blaze. Beautiful. We'll be talking to someone about waterfowl on your show soon. Yeah. Is that real? No. Okay. 10 seconds. Good point, Lonnie. Let me add that to my list next week. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Make myself a note right here, Lonnie. Waterfowl. That is an area that I often forget about because I'm not a waterfowl hunter. I did have Sans Sass on a couple of weeks ago to talk about goose hunting, but we should talk about waterfowl hunting, duck hunting as well. So thank you, Lonnie, for that suggestion. All right, my friends, I have to go to work. I will keep this live feed going. You're more than welcome to stick around and watch. Please join me tonight if you can, 7 o'clock for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. I'll see if we can't figure out something to give away tonight. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. All right, my friends. Have a good day. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us as we are in the studio right now midweek. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. In fact, it's kind of too nice for this time of year. As we enter the month of Rocktober, by the time you hear this show, it will be Rocktober. Now, why do I call it Rocktober? Because it's a rock and roll month. In my opinion, the best month of the year. Temperatures are usually down, and they will be as the month goes on. The colors are beautiful. The fall hunting seasons are in full swing. The fall fishing season's in full swing, and all is wonderful in the natural world. God is smiling on us during the month of October. Even when it's a rotten day with a northeast wind and a cold front coming in and the barometer dropping, it's still a wonderful time of year. Rocktober. What's going on for me this week? I did get the boat out of the water. I was really quite nervous last week when we had those gale force winds come in and the floods on the Saginaw River from the heavy rain. It just made me nervous. I know there is some phenomenal perch fishing to be had out there. I know there's some great late season walleye action to be had, but you know what? I knew I wasn't going to take advantage of it. So I did take advantage of a break in the weather. Early last week, I ran the Angler Quest, the 826 Pro Troll, across Saginaw Bay over to Linwood Beach Marina to have her winterized. It was a nice trip, though. That those Angler Quest are such great boats, and I'm so excited now after seeing the improvements in the design and the changes for 2022. AnglerQuestPontoons.com, AnglerQuestPontoons.com. But Linwood Beach now, guys, you've got her. You'll take care of her, and you'll do what needs to be done. And I do appreciate that as I make the transition over to the fall hunting season. By the time you hear this again, bow season will have opened. I probably will have spent some time in a tree stand. I say probably because as I'm looking forward for the next couple of days, it's going to be so warm. If it wasn't October 1st, I certainly wouldn't hunt. But the fact that it's October 1st kind of makes me think that I have to be there, right? But I will be honest, it would take a very, very special buck to walk in front of me to let an arrow fly in temperatures like this. I wouldn't go out with the intent of taking a doe right now because it's just a little bit too warm, and I don't want to deal with the processing and the hassle of the meat when it's this warm. But if the right buck walked in front of me and did the right thing, meaning quartered away and put his leg forward and opened up the vitals, I might be tempted, but it would have to be a pretty good sized buck. In preparation for the season, I've been shooting my bow, and I'm still mentally making this transition from hunting the last couple of years with a recurve over to the crossbow. I am enjoying it, but it's kind of a mind-altering experience because in the past, for 2 years, I have limited myself to a 15-yard shot. Now, with this dart and crossbow, the Toxin 100 reverse draw RD, the scope is actually zeroed at 40 yards. I put a vortex scope. The bow came with a Darton scope, and it was a very nice scope, and it was perfectly acceptable, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I bought myself a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope to kind of up the game a little bit. And the way that Vortex is set up is you actually zero the scope at 40 yards. And then you go back to 80, which just blows my mind, and you shoot at 80 using the 80-yard reticle, the 80-yard crosshair. And if you hit low, you turn down the magnification on the scope. And if you hit high, you turn up the magnification on the scope, the power of the scope. And what does that do? What that does is allow you to fine-tune the setup for the speed of your bow so that the crosshairs, the reticles, will line up at 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever. In the past, my setup has been like, okay, it's zeroed at 20, it's a little high at 30, it's a little low at 40, and it's quite a bit off at 50 or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. And it always bothered me. For one thing, I didn't quite know how to set up a crossbow scope, to be honest with you. And it bothered me that if I had an animal in front of me, I had to think, okay, well, where am I aiming for this distance? Well, now I know at 20, 30, 40, they line up. And I think that's, to me, it's easier. Now, you said, but you can hit the target accurately at 80. Would you shoot a deer at 80? Of course not. I wouldn't. If you want to, and you feel comfortable with that shot, and you think you can make a quick, clean, humane killing shot at that distance, then you do what you feel is right. I would never tell you what to do. But for me, especially after, again, for the last 2 years, not being willing to shoot at more than 15 yards, how far would I shoot a deer at? I'd like to be at 20 or 30 yards. Even with a crossbow, I'd like to be at 20 or 30 yards. Would I shoot out to 40? Yeah, I think so. 50, oh boy. Again, it would have to be perfect conditions. 60, no. Nope, absolutely not. So even though the gear, the tool will make a shot, I'm not comfortable doing it. Big difference between sitting at my buddy's farm shooting at a target that doesn't move under ideal conditions with no stress, no wind, no ducking by the animal, no moving from the animal, and then being in a hunting situation. Again, I go back to I think as hunters, we need to do everything we can to be as effective and efficient as possible. But I'm really happy with this setup. It's actually quite impressive. What else? Somebody's asking. I'm doing a live feed right now. Somebody said, "How do those wreck broadheads work on my bear?" They were devastating, and that's what I will be shooting for deer as well. I love working with and promoting family-owned Michigan-based companies. That's my sweet spot. That's who I like to work with. That's who I like to promote. That's the products I like to use. And when I find products from Michigan-based family-owned companies that work very well, like those rec broadheads, REK, rec broadheads, I'm going to stick with them and I'm going to promote them. Speaking of promotions, we've got some going on right now. PrimalTreeStands.com. Now, they're not a Michigan-based family-owned company, but they're headed by Bob Ransom, who, if you know Bob's history, started Ameristep, and that's enough for me. Their Wraith 270 see-through ground blind. If you go to primaltreestands.com and use the promo code Avery, you can get that blind for under $200. In fact, I went on there, used my own promo code, and bought a blind and had it shipped right down to Ohio to Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. Everything on the website you can get a discount on, but you can get that Wraith 270 for under $200. If you go to michiganbrand.net and use the promo code Mike21, 20% off everything on the website. More on Michigan Brand coming up. And if you go to mucc.org, use the promo code Mike, all caps, MIKE, you can save 25% on your MUCC membership. I mentioned Michigan Brand because they have just finished or in the process of finishing processing the meat from the bear that I shot in Ontario. Brats. Bear brats on the grill are one of the most wonderful things you will ever taste in your life. Am I interested in bear steak or bear roasts? Absolutely not. Bear jerky? Yeah, you got my attention. Hunter sticks? Yeah, but bear brats on the grill are the best. Coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand will join me to talk about processing wild game, to talk about a giveaway they have coming up in conjunction, in cooperation, in partnership with the folks at Rapid River Knife Works in the UP. We will do a Wednesday night live at Rapid River on Wednesday night, October 20th. I would encourage you to join us. Also in hour number one, John Page from the Rough Grouse Society here in Michigan. It's small game season. That means squirrels, rabbits, woodcock, and grouse as well. In hour number two, Mike Horswell of Jay's Sporting Goods talking about processing your own venison. If you want to do that, he's your man. Brian Roll from the DNR with some anticipation. I think they're setting up Michigan hunters for a disappointing deer season in the UP. We'll talk about that. This week's Ask Avery segment, Chad Stewart of the DNR talking about the EHD outbreak in the southern part of the state. And we're switching gears in hour number three. Lance Valentine of teachandfishing.com. If you want to target trophy walleye, this is the time of year. We'll talk about that. And wild game chef Dave Miner with a great recipe. All that coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. Hey, Mike Netkowski, how are you? Bill Hoffman says, just because you have a hammer doesn't make you a carpenter. Amen to that. Mike Netkowski, good morning. Headed up to the UP for a week or so. That's a good place to be, Mike. Have fun. All right, my friends, enjoy the weather. And if you can, I would encourage you to join me tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. here on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel, Twitter, and LinkedIn as well. Have a good day, my friends. Have a great day, in fact.